Arm Holdings reportedly canceling a Qualcomm chip design license. That's according to Bloomberg. The feud between these two companies escalating, driving a rift between these longtime partners. And we're looking at the rising competition in the uneven chip race with more insights and strategy. Founder, CEO, and chief analyst Patrick Moorhead. Patrick, it's always great to have you on the show. Maybe start here, Patrick. When you think about this Arm Qualcomm relationship, and not everybody follows it as closely, you know, these were close partners, but talk about how it has evolved, how has it shifted, why it shifted, Patrick, and how we end up at this place we are now.
Yeah, so Qualcomm and Arm very much have a symbiotic relationship. Qualcomm is likely Arm's largest customer. So having a supplier suing its biggest customer, it's a big deal. This goes back years and years ago where Qualcomm used to have an architectural license from Arm where they would develop and design their own chips, very similar to what Apple has today. And then there was a period where Qualcomm licensed design more on a royalty basis, more fit for purpose designs. And then a few years back, Qualcomm bought a company called Nuvia, which had in it a bunch of ex-Apple Bionic architects and designers, the ones who, you know, made the Bionic and Bionic Pro architecture. And that had a certain license agreement with it. And what the two companies are debating here is which of the license agreements goes into effect right now. Is it the one that was with Nuvia, or is it the agreement that it had prior with Qualcomm? And obviously Arm thinks it's the larger number on the architectural license, and Qualcomm, they believe it's the smaller of those numbers.
Whew. Patrick, obviously this is very thorny and, as you say, complicated because these two companies are intertwined. So what do you think happens, and sort of how do they move ahead from this?
So I do believe that this will be settled out of court, even though there is a December 16th court date, which, by the way, aligns very much with this 2-month pull the plug on the Arm license with Qualcomm. But I believe none of these companies want to take this to court. Both of these companies have a very high proportion of lawyers to employees, right? They both do architectural licenses. Qualcomm is very adept. In fact, Qualcomm had a multi-year legal battle with Apple, and it is one of the only companies that Apple has lost to related to a licensing type of dispute. But this is not good for the industry. Their customers don't like this. And Arm, essentially what this could do on the PC side is push customers to the x86 competitors, Intel and AMD. So I think it's in both the company's best interest to settle. Now, this is not a trivial matter, right? We could be talking about billions of dollars over a few years. 50% of Arm's revenue is licensing. 50% of its revenues are royalties. So from a profit basis, I would say that this is a bigger deal to Arm than it is to Qualcomm. And don't get me wrong, if they pull the license and want all of this intellectual property destroyed, that is a entirely other matter. But I just don't think it will come to this. This will be settled outside of court.
And so to just put a button on that, Patrick, you would guess happens here, new negotiated license and presumably new higher royalty rate for Qualcomm?
Right, and I don't think this hits Qualcomm's P&L, though. It would hit a future P&L. But right now, you know, Qualcomm is paying Arm based on the license agreement that they had. I think the thing to keep in mind is that if you look at the competitiveness of Qualcomm chips, I see them gaining market share with this new Snapdragon 8 Elite, and Qualcomm has nowhere to go but up to go in the PC market. They might be a 0.5% market share, 1% market share, but I believe their goals are into the deep double digits. So you have to look at all of these different factors as investors weigh the puts and the takes of what this means.